right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, man, Monday Night Football, Jets, Dolphins. We've seen some pretty interesting games between these two teams on primetime football before in the past. Of course, the Monday Night Miracle, one of my favorite games of all time. But in any case, Jets are winless. Miami's winless. There's a lot riding on this game. The loser of this game, sole possession of last place, obviously not a position that you want to be in a month into the year. Vegas has the Jets as a 2.5, 3-point underdog. So Miami, despite them, having a lot of issues on the offensive side, on the defensive side, they're at home. They're still the favorite here. Personally, when I look at this game, being 1-3, just feel, look, that's not anything to write home about, obviously, but just be imagining hypothetically a 1-3 Jets football team coming off a win on prime time against a division rival feels so much better than 0-4 getting smoked by one of the worst teams in football, losing in front of everybody. And I also think that the optics are going to be really important in this game as well, right? I think a part of that is because it's a AFC East rivalry. I think a part of it is because it's on prime time and everyone's going to be watching. But I'm not in this, black and white win-loss kind of mindset where it's just like, if the Jets win, great. I don't care how they do it. This is year one of like that set the foundation year. I need to see some growth as the season goes on. If we win, but we look horrible and there's mistakes all over the place and things like that, yeah, of course I'm going to be excited about the W, but I'm really looking for these, grains of positivity, stuff that we can build upon moving forward. And again, if the Jets don't show anything like that, whether they win or whether they lose, I think it's going to be a little bit concerning as we start to, approach month 2 of the NFL season. But in any case, I feel pretty good about the Jets' chances in this one. When I look at the Miami Dolphins, they've obviously had a ton of issues on both sides of the football. Let's talk about the Jets' offense first. At the time of this recording here, we don't know if it's going to be Fields or Taylor as the starting quarterback, right? Fields is practicing, but he's still in the concussion protocol, so he has to clear that officially before the Jets rename him as the starting QB. But it's pretty safe to say that if he doesn't clear, it's going to be Taylor. But even though I view Fields as the option that I would rather go with, to me, if I'm Tanner Ringstrand, I got to be honest. This to me is like that get-right game for the rushing attack. Bottom line, we were absolutely amazing week 1 against the Steelers. Pittsburgh knew it was coming, and they couldn't stop it, right? Brees was looking awesome. The offensive line was looking great. Justin Fields on the ground. Overall, the rushing attack was sweet. Week 2, you're just down so early. Aaron Glenn actually talked about that in yesterday's press conference. You kind of have to abandon the run game when you're down 20-0. You can't go on these 10, 12-minute drives. It's just not in the cards, right? You just can't take that gamble as an offense. And then in week 3, they almost kind of, in my opinion, it seemed like they tried to catch Tampa Bay's defense off guard a little bit by all the quick passing early on from Taylor. And, of course, we do have to credit them. They did get down the field. They got a couple of field goals early on. But, and obviously the reason why they lost that game is because of the defense as well. But you never really felt like that team established the run. It was another matchup where the Jets are just down early in the game. It was a 2-possession game at halftime. Taylor picked 6. So at that point, it's just like time's ticking, and you need to get in the end zone. This week, I fully expect the Jets to come out ground game, feed Brees, feed Braylon, maybe some Fields, maybe some Taylor as a runner. And I think if you take a look at the Dolphins defense right now, it has not performed well up to this point. They are dead last in football in points per game. They've given up the most points in the National Football League. They are 32 in opposing completion percentage. They're also 32 in defensive time of possession. In other words, they can't get off the field. They're struggling on third downs, and then overall, they're on the field the most out of every defense in football. Now, of course, we have to look at the offense. Why is the defense out there so much? Well, because Tua has thrown 4 picks. He's also fumbled the ball, and there's been a lot of punts. There's been a lot of mistakes on the Dolphins' offensive side. Right? It definitely feels out of rhythm. Now, it got a lot better against that Buffalo Bills game, I will say. You're watching that Patriots game in week 2. You're watching the Colts game, and you just something looked off about Miami. It felt weird. right? I couldn't really put my finger on what exactly was the catalyst or the trigger point for why this team is looking so strange and lackadaisical and just so clunky and disorganized offensively. But again, week 3, if you're a Dolphin fan, it is a good sign that this team looked better and more prepared against the top competition, right? Because Buffalo's better than Indy, Buffalo's better than New England, I would say by a mile. And yet that was the game on the road that Miami looked the best. So common sense would tell you, okay, you can build upon that if you are the Dolphins and maybe coming back home, again, against a Jets defense that doesn't really look so great, a winless Jets team, maybe they do bounce back. Maybe this is their get-right game for them. Going back to the Jets offense here, I really like the Jets' chances to keep the ball on the ground, and I think our wide receiver, this could be the week where you finally have another pass catcher emerge outside of Garrett Wilson. Right, Josh Reynolds is healthy. He's the team's wide receiver 2. Is this the week that he maybe comes down with 6-7 catches? Not for 150 yards or anything, but just, in big critical situations. Based off of the Dolphins' coverage in the back end, they're giving up a lot of completions, man. They are, it has not been good. It has not been, fun to watch if you're a fan of defense and you're, analyzing this Anthony Weaver unit. It's just really the bottom line. So offensively, I really like our chances. Defensively, I have a major issue because the coverage, speaking of secondaries not really living up to the contracts, to the names on paper, the Jets defense or the Jets secondary, I would say, is just as bad. I mean, take your pick, right? Michael Carter looks like a shell of himself. Strong safety position is just a major question mark. Tony Adams is back practicing, but even if he's out there, it's like that position's just a complete liability. Cisco, I think he's been average, but nothing really to write home about. Definitely not a position where I'm yes, we have one of the better rooms in football at free safety. Brandon Stevens has not looked good. Sauce Gardner has not looked good. You go back to that Bucs game, it almost felt like Baker was picking on Gardner, identifying where Gardner was and throwing his way. And if that wasn't the case, then it's pretty clear that Baker didn't mind throwing that way at all, right? Okay, it's Gardner out there, doesn't really matter, doesn't really impact the read or the play or the wide receiver's ability to catch the ball. I'm still going to just, drop it in the bucket. And that's exactly what happened. And it's very unfortunate because Gardner is the highest paid cornerback in the National Football League, and he's simply not playing up to it. Michael Carter, one of the highest paid slot corners, not playing up to it. Secondary has been utterly a disaster, complete disaster. There's been some Wilkes issues as well. You kind of feel like the blitz packages, even though I understand the play call in certain areas, you just feel like it's very simple. And these opposing quarterbacks are looking at it saying I know where the blitzer's coming. Pre-snap, I already know where I'm going with the football. And if you give that ability to Josh Allen, to Aaron Rodgers, to Baker Mayfield, of course they're going to make you pay for it. Then you throw on top of it that the corners can't actually cover, or they haven't so far. So it's looking like Jermaine Johnson's going to be out this week. No Quincy Williams. He's going to be out. When I'm thinking about Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and if Tua is just getting the football out of his hands quickly on just simple first read stuff, I think it could be a very long day. So really, what's the plan defensively? I am sending a lot of rushers. I'm cranking up the heat, right? I am sending blitzes up the middle. I don't like Tua's ability to go left, to go right. I think, I'm talking not in bootleg situations. I'm talking climbing the pocket or exiting the pocket on the fly. I think if the Jets can create that internal pressure, it could be big time, right? Forcing Tua off his first read. And with the corners, Tyreek Hill, Waddle, this Dolphins Achane, right? As a pass catcher out of the backfield, this is Dolphins team that has a lot of speed. It has a lot of speed. And so you combine speed with veteran players with a Mike McDaniel system, which is all based around rhythm, right? It's a rhythmic based offense. Defensively, you got to knock these guys out of rhythm. Bump and run coverage. I'm playing Gardner close. I'm playing Stevens close. I'm getting these guys to get physical with the wide receivers early at the line of scrimmage. But the safety play has been abysmal, and I just do not like the thought of Steve Wilkes calling blitzes on defense with a thin, depleted linebacker room, right? in dropping corners back in his zone coverage. Tua, McDaniel, Waddle, Hill, these are veteran players. They're going to be able to find soft spots in the zone, find these pockets of open field. And these guys are just deadly yards after catch. So, honestly, I think calling more so that aggressive game, getting your hands on these wide receivers early and trying to knock them off, because if Tua is set to deliver a pass and Tyreek Hill is not where he's supposed to be, I just don't see Tua as that type of guy. I don't feel like he's coached to sit and wait and wait and wait. He's going to come off the read and he's going to start progressing through these reads. But hopefully by the time he gets to the second and third read, the pass rush is in the backfield, right? You have Q wreaking havoc on the inside, Harrison Phillips, right? Like this is like we have some guys that can get in the backfield and make noise. Again, despite not having Jermaine Johnson. So for me, that's the plan of attack. I just am really, really hoping that the coverage tightens up over time. To me, I understand new defense, new play caller, new coach, new system and everything. But at some point, the coverage simply has to be tighter, and it's not good enough so far. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.